welcome to the Beehive. Welcome back. And we want to talk to you about today's special live stream. We have a special guest today. He's a really good writer, and he is the 2020 FIM AMA World Qualifier. He's the champion, and he's going to be going to Europe next August with Brock Nickel. And he actually scored a maximum score of 15 points to advance. And he scored a max. Max scored a max. And who is that Max? It's the amazing Max Romo. We're going to go ahead and add Max right now. There he is. Hey, Max, how you doing, bro?
How we doing?
Oh, it's Max Romo, the champion. How you doing, bro?
Good. How about yourself, Brian?
Okay, doing good. Welcome to the show. And my last live stream I did was December 11th. It was the day before the big race that you had last Saturday. It was Friday. And I was doing the announcing the riders and all the different riders that were there. And then when I got to your name, I had to stop for a second and I had to tell the riders, like, hey, we have Max Romo here and he's going to be in the house. And if you guys don't put on your A game, Max is going to take you out. You know, he's going to take you down. And I told that the day before the big event. I said, Max is riding really hot this year. He's the #1 point getter at the Perris Speedway. He's winning almost every scratch main. So I told those guys that, hey, if you're not on your A game, Max is going to take you down. So how do you feel after the big maximum score of 15 points on Saturday night? How do you feel, Max?
I feel like $1 million. You know, I mean, I had a really good night and scored a maximum. You know, it doesn't get much better than that. So, you know, there was still stuff I could probably work on, but other than that, man, it was a pretty flawless night for me.
It was. You've been burning up Perris all season long. I mean, winning every scratch main, almost every scratch main. Maybe not everyone, but almost every scratch. And you're the #1 point getter on that track. Hey, Max, what's your secret and what do you do to maintain your dominance on the speedway track?
You know, it's there's a lot that goes into our program and a lot of big effort, you know, whether it's staying fit or just staying committed to the sport. It's there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, you know, whether it's, well, like I said, staying fit, having good equipment, and having a good group of people behind you that support. So, you know, it's a team effort and a lot goes into it. So shout out to Lewis Hughes and our buddy Thomas and everybody else that supports us. They keep the ball rolling for us and keep us moving forward.
You have great support, Max, and you're a great rider too. So you must take the credit also, because behind all that support is it's a great rider, and Max Romo. So you definitely, you know, have that gift and you have that talent. So you should be very grateful for that, because not everybody has that gift. And so, you know, you have the heart of a champion, and not everybody has that. So feel blessed and fortunate that you have that. So I want to ask you something, Max. Are you superstitious? I mean, do you eat certain foods, or do you do anything special before the race day?
You know, I feel like I used to be. I feel like there's little things that every rider kind of does before they start the night or how they start their day. But realistically, man, I didn't do anything different from an average day. You know, to be honest, I probably did stuff that I usually don't do. You know, I ended up going to like Five Guys and having a good burger for lunch, making sure, you know, I was filled up and I was ready to go. I was, you know, no, I'm not really superstitious, I guess. There wasn't really much different than I did. I just pretty much just had to stay focused and stay on top of my A game and keep my mind in the racing. I think that was the biggest thing for me.
You definitely did that. You definitely were, your head was there. It's really good to see guys that are dedicated, that have their mind in the game, because there's so many riders that don't do that, or they don't have that belief in themselves. And I know you do. And it's really good to see riders that have that confidence and that have that championship mentality like you do. So it's really great to see that and to hear that, because I sponsored riders and I was involved in racing, and I know a champion and I know a not champion, and you are definitely in that champion class, and so that's really great. I want to change the topic for a second, Max, and I want to talk about your younger brother, Dylan. That kid is finished 5th place on Saturday night. I mean, that's your younger brother. I mean, tell me what you think about that. And he has a racer's heart like you. And how far do you think the pickle will go in Speedway?
You know, Dylan, he had actually an awesome night. He, to be all fair to him, he actually, in late 2019, he kind of had a little bit of injury. He had a little plague with injury and kind of kept him off the bike for almost an entire year. So when he finally did get fit, he he started getting back into the rhythm, and it took it, especially after big injuries and stuff, it takes riders a minute to kind of get back in their groove and to keep themselves going. But it seemed like whatever he did on Saturday night, he made it click. And a 5th place result doesn't really show how well he truly rode. He had a really good night. He won a lot of races, but I think there's a few things he could possibly just clean up on the night at least. But I think he's going to go just as far as anybody else in this sport will. Well, at least as far as I will. I know he's got the determination and the attitude to keep going. So, and he wants it, and I think that's a big thing, to want to keep improving and to keep going farther and farther. So, I believe he's going to go far in the sport as well as I believe that I am. So, only time will tell, though, and we'll see what the cards play out. But I think he's got a very bright future.
Oh, definitely. That kid is on fire. He's really great. Do you help Dylan? Do you give him tips and stuff? Because you're a little bit better than him. So do you give him a little bit of advice, or do you just forget about it?
I think that's not really the statement I would say. I wouldn't say that I'm better than him by any means. I mean, that there's been nights where literally he's kicked my butt. He's went out and proven that he's a better rider on the night. I think a lot comes down to preparation and how you're feeling on the night and what you're thinking and the mindset that you're in. Like I said, he had a killer night the other night, and I think that his overall placement didn't really show how well he was truly riding. But when it comes down to tips and stuff like that, I think if he came up to me and asked me something or said something, I would definitely try and help him out as much as I could, just as well as I think he would do the same for me. But in the end, this is an individual sport, and you're racing for yourself. So, you try and minimize that. You're not trying to ask anybody for help. You're not really trying to ask for tips or anything really like that. You're more or less trying to find it out yourself, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what'll make you the better riders, figuring it out yourself. And I believe he knows that, and I think that that's what I think of it as. So, at the end of the day, if he wanted tips and he wanted to come over and ask me for anything, I'd be willing to help him out and give him anything, any knowledge or any preferences that I have. But at the end of the day, we both have our own little cliques and our own little secrets that we keep to ourselves that help us get through the night that keep us going through the night.
Exactly. I guess I said it kind of bad. I put Dylan down because I've seen Dylan at Costa Mesa and everything kicking your butt. So yeah. I know that guy can. I remember him. He nailed you a few times at Costa Mesa. I mean, he put you out. So Dylan, when he's on, he can really take anybody down. So he's a freaking great rider. And he's so young and he's developing. So I mean, he has that ceiling like a lot of young riders. You're not really like the young rider anymore. I mean, you were, but now you're kind of becoming more mature. And Dylan and a lot of these other guys are kind of the young guys kind of coming up, and you have that experience a little bit more than some of these really young guys. So that's really cool. Um, I want to talk about the day after your big win. Um, the GP newsletter came out and they congratulated you and Brock for your amazing performances. And I said earlier that the winner, I didn't know exactly you're going to win this event, which is really cool. I'm really happy you won. I'm serious. I was really happy. I was just so happy. But I mentioned that the promoters in the UK and the whole world would go ahead and watch this race. So by you being on this particular night, you did really justice for yourself. And immediately the GP newsletter came out and it mentioned this: with the British, Swedish, and Danish clubs set to lose riders due to restrictions on how many league riders signed to ride in the Polish teams they can enter, it looks like the GP is broadcasting to the world that they are looking for new riders, especially American riders. How do you feel about the GP basically inviting and encouraging you to ride over at the pond next year? How do you feel about that?
You know, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a blessing that I do get these opportunities to now go over and do that. There's still a lot of things in the works that have to be worked out to make it happen, but we've got amazing support behind us, and if we do choose that we want to do it, which I believe that there is a heavy hand between me and my mechanic and my supporters that we do want to do it, but things have to be right and things have to be moving in the right direction to be able to do it. So at this point in time, it's a little not on the fence or iffy, but we're still working out the logistics and we're still working out the details on how we want to do it. And if it's feasible and it makes sense to do it, then we're going to go over there and give it our best shot.
I'm sure you'll do great. I have no doubt. I know that if you go over there this time, you're going to really, just things are going to go really good for you because you're going to go ahead and be prepared, like what you're saying. And you have that experience over last time you went over. You're more mature and you've developed yourself as a speedway rider much better than when you were very young, let's say like at Dylan's age or younger than that. So you really, you're really going to do well. This is going to be a big plus if you get over there this year. What improvements have you made in yourself since like before?
Oh, are we talking as in like from the last time I went overseas, like the last time I was on the team place? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, so yeah, just being in a sense more prepared. With a good support behind you and a good mechanic, it helps a lot. Like I said, it's a big team effort, and they when I went over there, I was kind of on. I don't want to say I was on my own because there was a lot of people that helped and supported, but I didn't have the support that I truly needed. I wasn't in the best physically. I wasn't physically fit enough to be over there. I wasn't working on myself in those directions. Since I got home, I've been working a lot more on training. I've been working a lot more on getting support and having good equipment and making sure that everything's right. It's a big deal to go over there and be riding secondhand equipment and riding in a league that everyone shows up with brand new stuff every year, and you're almost on secondhand equipment and you're not really in charge of what's going on. So I think that'd be the biggest difference from that to now would be we have a bit more of an understanding on what is going on and what we need to do to be there. So just being more prepared, having better support and making the most of it.
Exactly. I think I read, and tell me if I misquoted this, when you went over it last time and when you were racing, your equipment was kind of bad, and like you were having a lot of problems with your equipment, and a lot of your problems was really not with your riding ability, but it was with the equipment, and you just like couldn't get everything in gear. You just like, it seemed like you're behind the 8 ball. Is that true? Because that's what I read, and I think that's what happened.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I just said as well. It was, I went over there and I almost felt like I was secondhand. When you go over there and you feel like that, you're not going to race like you're racing on the best equipment possible.
No.
You're not going to be racing like you have the best support as possible. You're not going to be willing to put your stuff on the line because you don't know if you're going to be able to put it back together if something goes wrong. So, that's always kind of in the back of your head if you go over there and you're not prepared fully. So I think now that would be the biggest difference is if I go over there now compared to then. So, I would say, yeah, you're right. Like I said, I just wasn't prepared. I got told about the team place last time I went over there in like the early to middle February. We made the decision to do it, and I flew over there in March. So I only had a month to truly prepare for everything, and that's just, if you're going to do it, that's just not enough time. It truly isn't.
No. It was a nice try and everything. It just wasn't enough time. And this time you have like a whole year to kind of like get ready off season, and you kind of have to get your team together, and you can get your equipment together, go over there and really, do well. With many openings next season in the British League, I'm sure the buzz is of your win this last Saturday night. Within the whole Speedway world. And has any promoters contacted you, Max?
Not yet. It's still quite early from what it's been. It did just happen on Saturday. It was this was a major event, and it did. I bet there are a couple eyes on me, and it's still early for them too. I think that they're still trying to settle in and figure out what the British League is actually trying to do this year. People are still making new rules. There's still a lot of things going on behind the scenes, I believe, that we don't know about. So, I think in the next couple weeks we'll figure out a lot more. And if people are going to come over if people are going to contact me and ask me about racing over there, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen in the next couple weeks or so. But I think just letting the dust settle and letting the new year come along, I think that'll be a big that'll be something big that'll come. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, no.
I'm sure that things will change, and the promoters, like I said before, the cream rises at the bottom. No, the cream rises at the top. And even like I'm changing the topic a little bit. I'm kind of ramble sometimes. But even the early days Speedway riders, like the Milne brothers, when they raced in America, they went ahead and they did really well, and they were at the top of their game. And what did the promoters do? They noticed the Milne brothers were famous in America, and they noticed that they were really good. And the promoters eventually, got them over to Europe. And a year later, Jack Milne was the 1937 world champion. So when you ride at that high level, like you're doing right now, you definitely get noticed. You definitely get attention, and you'll definitely be contacted because the promoters, they like the guys at the top. They don't like the guys at the bottom. So what are your future Speedway goals, Max?
Future Speedway goals. That is a good one. Of course, like I think I've voiced this out a lot. Is I do eventually and hopefully want to win the AMA National Championship. I want to be the guy who puts number one on his back here in the United States. But also, you know, I mean, if the right support comes along and the right, I guess you could say the right contract comes into play, I think that racing over in England in one of the top leagues would be another big stepping stone for my career. If anything after that's pretty much a bonus, because I know, you know, this sport is hard. This sport is a very difficult sport. Hello? Am I
Hi,
still with
I've
you?
got you back. We lost you for a second. Sorry about that. Okay, you got you now.
Oh, jeez.
I lost Max. Come back, Max. Come back. You can do
Sorry
it.
about
There you
that.
go.
Am I
Okay,
here?
Max, we got you.
Sorry. Yeah, no, when I think the biggest
That's
goal,
okay.
I think my biggest goal for Speedway right now is to win an AMA national championship and to be able to wear number one on my back. If I can do that, I will be completely fulfilled in Speedway. But you know, I think after this, I believe that things will kind of fall into place a little bit more. I believe a little bit more support will come into play, and I believe a little bit more will be offered to me here in the near future. I just need to stay on top of it and keep wanting. So I think wanting more is a big part of this sport. So I think as long as you keep wanting to progress and wanting to do better and, you know, wanting more out of the sport, you will get it. But as soon as you lose that drive,
Exactly.
it kind of goes away.
Exactly. Well, I see you and Brock and Luke and all these younger riders that are really progressing well. And one of you guys is going to get that number one because Billy Gennaro, you know, I like Billy Gennaro and everything, and he's just an amazing rider. But Father Time comes to all of us. And you young guys, the young lions coming up, you guys are going to be the next in line. So definitely I could see you, you know, I could see any of you guys, but I could definitely see you winning that national championship. And, you know, you have that hunger and, you know, I don't see any reason why not, because you guys are the next in line to come up to win that championship. And that would be amazing having that number one AMA national championship on your back. I'd love to see that too. I was going to go back to the old days, Victorville. Do you remember when I first met you back many years ago over at the sign-up booth with Steve Evans at Victorville? You were like a little guy. You were like a little kid, you know, and you were really good. And that's the first time I met you as at Victorville many years ago. You were like, I don't know, like 14 or something like that. You were like a little guy. And you know, you were just, I watched you, I could not believe how good you freaking were. I was like, dang, this guy's good. This guy's really hot. And Dylan was hot too. Both of you guys were pretty dang good. And I just was wondering, like, what got you into Speedway?
So that's a good question. And by the way, Victorville, one of my favorite tracks that I've ever raced on here in the United States. It was a big stomping ground for me, and I'll always show great support to John Aiden and the fact that him and Steve Evans let me race there. I believe when I was only 14, I got to race a 350 in the Division 1 class, and I believe at 15 years old, I won my first Division 1 main event at Victorville on a 350 motor against 500s. So always a pleasure talking about Victorville, and a big appreciation goes out to Steve Evans and John Aiden for allowing us to race there and allowing me to kind of stretch my legs a little bit and see kind of how far I could go. But originally Speedway started for me and my little brother through the Ramirez brothers, Samuel, Jason
Oh, really?
Ramirez. We met them riding motocross out at a motocross track called Milestone, which is sadly closed down now. But met them riding motocross. Their dad, Sam Ramirez, ended up bringing us in saying, hey, do you guys want to try Speedway one day? Because him and my dad clicked really well. And when we won, we didn't know what Speedway was. This was back in 2008. So we went out, tried it one day, and I absolutely loved it. I couldn't imagine life without Speedway now because of that. But you know, that day just kind of clicked in my head, and that's what I knew I wanted to do. It was just something that that hit home to me. So I kept doing it, and now I'm sitting here talking to you. So yeah, it's just a big shout out to the Ramirez brothers. They were a big support and a big help in getting us going.
I like those guys, the Ramirez brothers. I like the Papa too. He's cool. We had lots of time. I used to go to his lawnmower shop in Orange and off of Chapman. I don't know where it is now, but he had the lawnmower shop, and I used to go there and hang out, and we used to shoot the bull and hang out. And it was cool. And the Ramirez family, they're awesome. They're really, really cool people, and good speedway riders too. The Ramirez's. Those guys can ride.
Yes,
definitely good riders. They're good people, and they're still in Orange, right? They're still over there in Orange, over there off near the hills and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. They're still right over there in Orange, right off. I believe it's Chapman or one of those Chapman, Catella, something like that.
Chapman and Hughes, or something like that. Chapman and Hughes.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not too familiar, but I know they're around that area for sure.
Yeah, they're cool. Another question for you, Max. Who is your favorite old time rider, or do you have one? Do you have a older, not now, but old racer?
If if we're talking about old racers, there's definitely got to be quite a bit of inspirational people. You go back to 1937 when Jack Melanie won the world championship. He was the first American to ever do it. So that's he was one of the 5 Americans to ever do it. There's only been 5 American world champions. So, if you look back on something like that, he would definitely probably be like a heavy hitter. But, you look back at like Bruce Penhall, 2-time world champion. He was the first American to ever win it twice. Big inspiration. You look at someone like Kelly Moran, who lived a life that was like no other. I've read the book and gotten to hear stories about the guy, and he lived a heck of a life. Oh my gosh, I couldn't, the stuff that they tell in just his book alone would throw any kid in jail in a heartbeat today. But if you're looking at something like that, if you're looking at professionalism or something like that, you'd have to go with someone like Greg Hancock, 4-time world champion in the sport, and someone who's literally paved a way for world speedway, not just American speedway, but world speedway in general. I think he won his 4th world title at 46. Like, who does that? Who does that? How could you not admire that, right? So
it's insane.
I mean, there's a lot to admire if you're going back in the day.
I mean, Hancock, the day he retired, he could still win like any freaking main, anything. I mean, that guy was just on fire, man. The lines he rode, I watched him ride. Everybody watched him ride, and even practicing, that guy was on fire. That guy could just ride the crazy outside line. He would start it way to freak out there near the wall and just ride it, and then just, oh God, that guy was just full throttle, and he was just like that guy was unbelievable. I mean, that guy could ride like no other. Greg Hancock. He was just right?
Completely.
The guy was sick. The guy was insane. So who do you look up to today? Do you look up to anybody today, or just look in the mirror and look at yourself?
Oh man. Well, I think Greg Hancock, if we're talking about anybody, it'd be that guy, to have a career for as long as he did and be able to continue to race speedway, and at the age that he did. This is a young man's sport. You see the current top guys in the world aren't more than 30 years old. That they're within, that they're younger. So to look up to a guy like that would be something insane. But you have a guy like I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm gonna get close enough. Bartosz Smazlik, like that guy is just an understatement of unreal fast. Like you got a guy like him, Ty Wolfington, um, 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 I believe I'm saying it right, where it's like Matti Janowski, uh, man, even like Freddie Lindgren. There's if you look at any Grand Prix star who has been at the top level in the World Championships in the past 3 years, they're just they are inspirations. They're the guys that are the ones to beat. They're the ones that are getting the publicity. They're the ones that are making real money at the sport. So if I can make a living like they do off the sport, that would be something to look forward to.
I think you can. I really do. I think you can do that. Just keep yourself focused, keep your confidence level. You have that air of confidence, that belief in yourself, and that really helps a lot. I always mention the young riders, they ride with their throttle, but the good riders ride with their brain. They're the ones who are thinking about, and those guys you just mentioned, all those GP riders, they all ride with their brain. They don't ride just with their throttle. They ride with more than 50% brain and less throttle. I think they're just amazing, amazing guys, and they just, they have the talent that never ends. It makes you wonder, how do these guys got that much talent? I mean, they just have so much talent. I mean, from Hancock to these GP riders that you mentioned, I mean, these guys are really amazing. They have a special talent and unique, so they're good.
Yeah,
they're really good. They're like unbelievable. I always watch these guys and I'm just like, how do these guys, how are they so good? They're so focused. They have a brain set that's like superhuman. They're not like normal riders. These guys are like advanced people.
Yeah,
I mean,
completely.
Right? Is that right, or am I wrong?
No, completely right. Completely right. They have a whole different mindset to how they go about Speedway. It's unreal.
Oh, it's totally unbelievable. So that's cool. I think you can do it, man. I think you got the ability. I've been pulling for you all the time. I don't know if you see yourself like this, but you've been kind of an underdog because you have a lot of guys, like Brock and Luke, and you have a lot of these guys who are pretty, good riders also. And you're also a good rider. It's just, I think you haven't got the attention and the notoriety that you deserve also. So you've been kind of a little bit of an underdog, and hopefully this race woke everybody up last Saturday that you are this championship material rider that we all know who you are. So that's really cool. So we're really pulling for you, and you can jump into that level of top riders in America. So we definitely think you can do that with Luke and Brock and these other young riders. There's a lot of young riders. What do you think about that? All these young riders coming. I want to ask you that question.
Oh man. Well, what was it? Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were racing out at Perris once again. And I was watching the under 21 class, like you look at Luke Becker, you want to say like he's an American superstar right now. He's one of the guys that's coming up. But he's young. That kid still has a lot of time to go, and he still has a lot of effort to still show and put into the sport that hasn't been shown yet. But it's hard to say that because the kid is so good. Same with my little brother Dylan. He's the same way. It results in the last couple of meetings really haven't shown for him, but he's a kid that, if you put decent equipment under him, he'll be just as fast. If you put the preparation with him, he'll be just as fast. Then you have a couple of younger kids. You look at like Sebastian Palmisi at the under 21s. He did very well. He had a good night. There were no bike failures. There was nothing really dramatic that really happened, and he stayed on top all night. A kid like Anthony Dion.
Second place.
Yeah. Then you got a kid like Anthony Dion who really if I were to tell somebody who doesn't really know about Speedway, who goes to Costa Mesa once or twice a year, they have no clue who that kid is. But that kid is another kid that's going to be an underdog, and he's going to truly show here in the next couple of years. And I believe same with kid Kyle Cunningham. you know, there's a few others that I couldn't really say right off the top of my head, but I know there's quite a bit more that are still coming up. And you know, American Speedway, it's bright. You know, we have a lot of younger kids from the junior ranks as well. Levi Lutz, Nick Holbein, Jose Navarrete. There's a handful of younger kids that are coming in through the junior program that are going to be really good as well. So there's a herd of kids that are coming in, and the next couple of years will definitely show how much American Speedway has progressed. But it's still a little light. We're still, you know, trying to find that groove again. I don't think we'll ever truly get back to how it was in the late 70s, early 80s of American Speedway, you know, where, you know, I heard something the other day where I think it was a story. I couldn't tell you exactly who the story was about, but somebody came up to a friend of mine and said that he was making $70,000 a year off racing Speedway in the United States. If we could do that
Whoa.
here, there would be no point in having to go over to England and race and that kind of deal. We would have the competitiveness, and there would be the want and desire to race Speedway here. But you know, it's almost an underlooked sport compared to motocross, supercross, even American flat track. They have a lot of support and a lot of following compared to what American Speedway has. So, you know, it's yeah, I guarantee in the next couple of years we'll see a big group of kids that are coming up, and American Speedway will flourish, whether we have to take it to the next level and, you know, spend time to make it over to England and try and do what all the rest did, you know, try and make it big in the sport. So, but there's a healthy group of kids, and I hope everyone just stays healthy.
Yeah, exactly. No, you know, Speedway, I did some blogs. I do some blogs, and back in the 70s, actually, there was a lot of money made in Speedway, and they had the SRA. Do you know the SRA? The Speedway Racing Association. And they went ahead, back in the days, they had lots of crowds at Costa Mesa, and they gave like 30 or 35% of the purse back to the riders. And Mike Bass was winning like $1,000 a night. He was freaking making like 50, 60, $70,000 a year when he was cleaning up. And he didn't need to go to Europe. Why? Because he was making a lot.
Hello? Oh no. Hello? Hey. Dang it. Hello? Hello? Oh my Lord. I lost him, guys. I lost him. Guess that's what happens. So these hot wings are so good. What? No. Hello? Am I the one running the show now? Well, I can tell you this. I don't know what happened, but I believe I see him loading back up.
I lost.
You can hear me. Hello?
I got you, man. I'm so sorry. Everything just like poof. You know, sorry. But you got me back. We're on the show. Hopefully, yeah, we're on the show still. I apologize. The internet went out and everything went bad. So I'm sorry about that, bro. And
Yeah, no
I
worries.
didn't. I'm sorry. The world of the internet is very beautiful. And but I was mentioning before I was rudely cut off by the internet that Mike Bass was making all that money, and he was making like $50,000-$60,000 a year. And recently, some old timers from England, these old guys, they were like texting me saying, "I don't like Michael Bass." And I said, "Why? He's a pretty good rider." And they said, "He didn't come to England and race. We wanted to see him race against the best." And I said, "He was doing really good at home. He didn't have to go over to the pond because he was cleaning up in America, making tons of money." So I said, "Nah, he didn't have to go. He was doing good." But the Speedway made a lot of money back in the early days under the SRA, and then they went ahead and discontinued the SRA, and then they cut the purse money, and then they had a riders protest, and then kind of that was the end of the glory days of American Speedway as far as money goes. So that was kind of a sad time. And but they did make a lot of money, and the top riders were like cleaning up. So that was pretty cool. Okay, so let's move on. What made you choose number 5 on your back?
So, to be honest, really wasn't. I kind of when I was 16, when you're 16 and you get to race the pro division, you come up and you have to have a triple digit number. So my number was, when I first started racing, was 308. And 308 was actually an older rider named Hugh Randolph. I don't know if you remember that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a set of covers. Well, I actually bought a bike off of him for Junior Speedway for the 250s, because on the 250s, they still take a full-size Speedway bike, just a smaller engine. So my dad actually ended up buying a bike off of Hugh Randolph, and that is the number that came on the covers. Well, then I continued that number up until I got into the 500s. And then once I had made enough money in the AMA events to change to a single digit number, where my first year, I think I was eligible, because I think my first year I got 4th place in the AMA National Championship. So that was 2013. And when that happened, I was able to change to a single digit number. So I was sitting there speaking with an old sponsor of mine named Rob, who still continues to support today. His dad was actually Sarge, Rob Sr. So, So that's actually the trophy. His memorial trophy is actually what I won on Saturday. The American Final trophy is the Sarge Memorial Cup trophy. So,
nice.
But either way, going back to the original question, I was sitting there speaking with my sponsor, Rob Fiesler, and he was saying, "Well, why don't you go to number 5?" And I was like, "What is number 5? Like, is there a specific reason why you want to do that?" And he goes, "Well, it was Brad Oxley's number." And I was like, "Oh, no kidding." So the promoter of Costa Mesa Speedway, and I was sitting there like, you know what? Heck yeah. So I went up to Brad and I asked him if it was okay if I brought number 5 out of retirement, and he gave me the okay. So I slapped number 5 on my back. And then, but if we think back, even past him, which I later figured out, that number 5 was originally Lightning Larry Shaw. So yeah, so I kind of know the back history behind number 5 now, and I get the legacy that kind of comes with it. So I'm blessed and honored to continue the number and to keep winning championships with it.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, that's a very special number in American history, number 5. You had Lightning Larry Shaw. He was an amazing rider. The guy was just like, when he was on, nobody beat him. And then Brad Oxley. Yeah, Brad was just freaking crazy guy. I mean, Brad could get on a bike today and go out and blow everyone's doors off. He's just a crazy guy. Guy's got talent, you know. And yeah. I raced Brad when I was 15. I had some rides against Brad. And yeah, see that cup up there? See the cup up there behind me? Right there?
Yeah.
I beat Oxley for that cup. That was my King of the Hill match race championship against Brad Oxley. Brad kills me every time I mention him. He's like, you bastard, you took the first championship away from me, you jerk. And I said, yeah, I want that. I was on the announcing speaker, and I was like, it was like the big race of the year after like the whole year, the top 3 finishers were on this sort of race, match race sort of championship, the champions. And it ended up being me and Brad after I beat Larry Costa, and I got up on the announcing booth. You would never do this because you're like Max Romo, but I was kind of different. I was like a little cocky bastard, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna beat Brad Oxley, and I'm gonna take him out, you know. And like Brad's eyes were popping out, like, and his dad was like, I don't like that jerk. And then the old tuner George Wynn, do you know George Wynn? He was like old guy. He was really a good mechanic. He was one of the best. He's from England. And George was like, I don't like that guy. And I was up there saying, I'm going to beat Brad Oxley. And I was like, God, what are you doing? You know, you don't go around saying that word. So I got lucky, and I took him down. So, but Brad's just like 2-time United States champion. The guy's just like unbelievable. So we like Brad Oxley, and I'm glad you got his number because, you know, you got a really cool number with like tradition behind it. So I was going to ask you, Max, like racing Saturday night was like freezing cold. What did you do to stay warm?
Oh, just kept moving. You know, I mean, it was I don't think I broke a true sweat all night. So it was like, you know, Speedway, it's a very, especially in the warm weather, it's a very hard sport. You think about it though, it's 4 laps. So you have your helmet on for 4 laps, and the rest of it is just trying to stay warm. Realistically, man, I kept my leathers on. I kept all my gear kind of suited up, you know, and I just kept moving. I kept moving forward, and you know, I think you actually, if anybody was there that's watching, they saw me pacing back and forth, back and forth. I don't think I truly sat down all night. Once those races started, I think the only time I really took a minute was when I was sitting on my bike waiting to be bumped off, or when I just came in and I was sitting there talking with my 2 mechanics and saying, you know, what we're going to do for the next race and what we're trying to plan out and how things worked. But other than that, you just saw me going back and forth, pacing. You know, I just never sat down. I kept walking, and I kept, I didn't really talk too much, but I kept my, I don't know. I just kept my groove, and I just kept walking. I don't know. It's realistically, it was like one of the first times I've ever done something like that. I don't know where it came from or what it was about, but it kept me warm and it kept me going. So I'll say it helped.
You had a good night, so it definitely helped. Whatever you did it well. So that's really good. Do you remember the old days in Victorville? It was pretty cold there in the winter. Remember those days or not?
Yeah, I do. I was younger though too. I had, you know, the adrenaline even then is probably through the roof compared to what it is now. And you know, I've learned to control myself a little bit more nowadays. So I think getting a little cooler and being a little bit more calm definitely keeps you a little bit on the colder side. So back then, no, I was a little kid. I didn't care if it was cold or anything. I was always running around doing whatever a little kid does, you know? So no, realistically, I don't remember the track ever being cold or anything. I just remember loving to ride my motorcycle.
When you get old like us, you start feeling the cold, but when you're a little preteen, you don't feel anything. You're just a little punky kid. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Now C-Max is a great cold weather rider with a perfect score. You had a perfect score. You had this freezing cold weather at the Saturday night at Perris, and you had a perfect score. So if there are race promoters looking to sign the future champion, look no further because Max can ride in the cold. And in England, I think it's kind of cold, right, Max? It's a little cold over there.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the year and towards the ending of the year, it's definitely not a warm country. But I believe the last time I was there during the middle of the year, it warmed up quite a bit. It got 80, 90 degrees in some places, and it was warm. But for the most part, it stays pretty cool, and uh, I think it helps. The bikes work better in cold weather. Everything just kind of works better in cold weather, apart from your bones. So as long as you're staying warm and uh, everything's kind of moving along, you stay pretty well maintained. But I think in cold weather, anybody kind of prospers. Like I said, the bikes work better. Motors produce more power. Track stays together better. Moisture stays in the dirt. It's just an all around better experience. I wouldn't say so much for the fans, but for us riding the bikes, it helps a lot.
Did you ever see that race, Max, with Penhall at Cradley Heath back? I think Dennis Sagalos. They're racing the Ipswich Witches, the Cradley Heathens, and it was probably like you said at the beginning of the season when it was a little cold, and there was like fog on the track, and Penhall and Sagalos and stuff. They were racing, and you freaking couldn't see like more than a meter or two in front of you. And with the camera, it's on the YouTube. You can watch this race. I watched it like many times. And Penhall's riding. Penhall was a little fast. And he won a couple races in his life. I think he didn't lose any races, but he won a lot of races. And Penhall was riding in this freaking fog, and you couldn't see like jack. And Penhall's like flying, and wow. And then they interviewed Bruce, and they're like, it's kind of hard to see out there. And it's like, I mean, it was funny. The camera, all you could see, you couldn't even see the racers. You just see fog. So I was thinking, that sucks. So if you race in England, maybe you're gonna have some of those days where it's really kind of freaky. Did you have any of those or not when you raced over there?
A little bit. There weren't too many super cold days. Like I said, adrenaline starts to kind of kick in, and as long as if the races keep going and you keep moving fast. So I don't really remember too much of the weather being too cold. I remember some rain. I remember quite a bit of rain at times, and with rain comes cold. But for the most part, it wasn't too bad. It was nothing that I've never experienced or couldn't handle. So I think it's kind of weird saying that coming from a kid that lives in Southern California, but in a sense, I've been lucky enough and blessed and fortunate to be able to kind of not just travel across the world, but travel within the country and to be able to experience different weather and being able to live in different atmospheres and not like atmospheres, but different like different climates, should I say. And it's always been so weather's never been a really big factor for me.
How do you feel like riding when the track is really wet, like super slippery and muddy and like kind of like a swimming pool? I mean, have you ridden that kind of track before when you rode?
I've gotten to ride in some pretty hectic looking tracks. I don't think especially around California, promoters really don't put us into that situation where we're able to ride on really muddy, slippery tracks, because it's all for the interest of the riders. So at the end of the day, if the track gets too bad, they'll call the meeting off and it'll be done. But I've been fortunate enough to ride in some crazy conditions at times, and it's always been a pleasure, but I don't think I'd ever recommend it, and I don't think I'd want to do it. So I think to answer your question, I'm not really gonna say I enjoy it, no. But being able to say that I have done it, and if push came to shove and they said we had to get on with it. I guess it's the same track for everybody, and we kind of all have to deal with it at that point. So if it came down to it, I'd have to deal with it. But I'm sure that promoters look out for the best interest of the riders, and that if it ever came down to it, they'd call the meeting if the track seemed unsafe or if it was unrideable to us. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's cool. I know when I raced at Costa Mesa a few years ago, I used to always race the first. When I was a young rider, like your age, maybe a little younger, I used to race against Bruce Penhall all the time. So every time I opened the program, I would say, Bruce the Fox Penhall. And I'm like, oh, shit. Every race, every time I get on the handicap, it was like Bruce Penhall. So I was like, can I race like an easier rider like Mike Bass or somebody like crummy? Like, no, not Mike Bass.
Oh.
Mike Bass was good. But I always raced against Penhall, and I didn't like that too much because every time, and I thought the Oxleys were mad at me because I was like teasing Brad about that cup up there somewhere. And so they said, we're going to put Brian.
Sorry, I can't really hear you right now.
Oh, you got me? You got me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So anyways, they used to put me against Penhall. And then when I raced, they always put me in the first race of the night. And then recently, and then the track was a little muddy and a little slippery. Not too bad, but it was a little slippery. So I would let the air out of my tire like 4 pounds or 5 pounds, 4 pounds, 3 pounds. And then I would just like run it. I'm a big fat guy, and I was just like run it. Wah! And then some of the little guys like your size, and they were just like, wah! They couldn't ride that. But the big dudes with the no air in their tire, just like, wah! So anyways, Costa Mesa, first race of the night, sometimes Brad waters it a little too much. And people are like, oh, I get to ride in that race. So anyways, that's you don't ride the first race, so you don't have to worry about that. So anyways, how did you get your name, Mad Max?
Terry Ike Clayton, announcer from Costa Mesa Speedway. So I think he called me that one night, and it kind of stuck. I don't really know, to be honest. It kind of just, I think I'm pretty sure it was him. It was either him or Bruce Flanders, but one of those two started calling me that, and it stuck. So I think once a promoter starts calling you a name, you kind of stick with it for a minute.
Do people call you Mad Max still a lot? Do they call you that?
When we're at the races and stuff, I guess announcers and stuff like that. But anyone who truly knows me, it's just Maxwell or Max, whatever you want to call me, really. So I guess it's like all off discretion.
It reminds me of the Road Warrior, the movie. Did you ever see that movie, The Road Warrior, Mad Max?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, the old one and the new one.
The good one. I think part 3 was a newer one. They're all cool. They're just awesome movies. And but you're such a cool dude, and you're so mellow and a great guy. So when they say Mad Max, I don't think I picture you like Mad Max. So kind of funny name. You're a cool dude.
Thank you.
That's what I like about you guys. I really have to, tell you, you and all, Brock and Luke and all of you young riders, you guys are so, mature, for your age, and you're so, down to earth. And that's really cool, And so there you are. Hey, there's Mad Max. And looking good, Max. So that's good. You guys really have a lot of, togetherness, and you guys are calm, you guys are well thinking, well behaved, so it's pretty cool. So that's really commendable to you and your family, your parents. I talked to your mom a few times. Did she ever tell you I talked to her before or not? No, your mom? No?
Yeah. I'm sure she's mentioned it. Now to think back to it, she has mentioned it. Not in really recent times, but I believe in the past there has been definitely times where she said that she's spoken to you, and definitely talked to you and said hello, and said that you admired all of us kids and you really enjoyed watching all of the younger kids ride. And yeah, my mom, she's
Yeah.
a sweetheart though. She loves everybody, so
She's
she'll make anybody feel like the most loved person in the world, so it's unreal.
She just wrote me and started talking to me, and so I was like, oh. And she was just she loves her boys, and she said we're working hard to help support them, and she's just really like an amazing lady. You got a nice mom there, Max. She's a good lady, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
completely. She's got a heart of gold.
And she's a nice lady. Um, is there anything you want to talk about that I didn't talk about? Is there anything like you want to mention or anything about your love life or anything?
No, man. I enjoy being on the podcast, and I definitely, I do have a missus. She's amazing. She's great support for everything that I do. She has my back 100%, and anything that I want to do and move forward with, she's always got me covered. So, big shout out to Hunter.
Oh, sweet. So I
Uh,
love. Go
hello,
ahead. Yeah, I
can you
got
hear
your
me?
back. Sorry about that. I got you. I can hear you.
Yeah, can you still hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I've got a cool missus. She's awesome. I got a good group of friends behind me, and a big mountain of support seems like that's come back in the past. I don't know how long, and it's just been amazing. I got to give a big shout out to a couple of our main supporters: Jay's Roofing, Dave Brinegar, Ashtec Motors, Astric knee braces, 100% goggles, Kingston Mold, Justice Brothers, Billy Hamill Racing, oh man, Joker Machine, Arai Helmets. There's a handful of people that just continue to support me. But a big shout out to Lewis Hughes Racing, my mechanic, a sponsor, manager. He's the overall guy that helps me and keeps me going throughout the night. And Thomas Anderson, who's always by my side as well. He's always beside Lewis when we go to the races, and he's always helping out with as much as he can. And appreciation to those two guys. So, it's like I said, this is a team effort, and you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. So I'm surrounded by good people, so I guess obviously it showed.
Very good. You're a lucky man to have so many people. You have a lot of people behind you. I wish I had that when I was your age. That's awesome. Are you
Like I
gonna
said,
go
there's
to
mountains.
huh?
Like I said, there's mountains. There's mountains of people.
Mountains of people. I think you probably missed a few people too, so we're sorry about those that you missed. There's so many people. And well, you're a likable guy and everybody likes that kind of personality. You're a cool dude, you're low key, you're a great writer, you're a good human being, and that attracts people to you. So just keep that up and you're gonna continue to have success. So that's really cool. And so are you for sure going to race next August in Slovakia? Are you going to be in that event as a seated rider for the GP series? Are you for sure going to do that?
No. So like I said, there's a lot of things that have to come into play. We still have a couple of mountains to move out of our way to get to, let's say, Slovakia, right? We have to go through the quarter or the semifinal rounds, and that's at random draw. I believe one's in Germany, one's in Croatia, one's in France, and one's in Scotland. And me and Brock can be placed in any of those semifinal rounds. So I believe you have to get a certain position to qualify to Slovakia, and Slovakia
Oh,
will be the final. They take the top three from Slovakia, and move, and that's who goes into the Grand Prix series. So it's a process. We're still finding out if we're going to do it or not. We have the opportunity, we have the support, and to be honest, we are willing to do it, but we're still waiting to see what kind of comes into play for next year. We're waiting to see if we do want to race in England next year, because we do have the opportunity to acquire a visa. And yeah, so in the next couple weeks, within the next at least 2 months, I believe a lot of people know what my plans are and what the intentions are for the group that's around me. But just being able to say that I am invited to go race that, uh, and to know that I have the support to do it is on another level of being blessed. So, like I said, you guys will find that more of that out when it comes time. But until then, we gotta kind of just see where the roads take us and see if it's something that we think will benefit us.
So what you're saying, I don't know if this is what you're saying, but so what you're saying is basically, if you get everything together and you get a good team backing, you get over to England, you get some good support, things are going really well, then that you'll probably end up being in that event if things are like the ball's rolling in that direction, correct? Basically.
Not just a team place overseas. Like I said, I do have the support to go over and do the challenge to get into the Grand Prix. I've got the equipment, I've got the funds, everything that needs to be in place can be put into place. But we're thinking what is in the best interest of me and what we're trying to do this year. If we do get a team spot, that could mean that we don't do it. That could mean that we're going to want to maybe focus more on the team spot, but we don't know if we're going to get a team spot yet. We don't know if we're going to do it yet. They haven't even chose us for the rounds yet. So we don't even know where we're going. We don't know if we're going to be in Frankfurt, Germany, or Croatia, or France, or Scotland. We don't exactly know where we're even going to be yet. So time will tell, and I'm sure in the next few months, everything will be sorted out and people will figure it out. But at this point in time, I don't even think we know. So we'll see what happens. But I guess in a general sense, no. From your question, no. That's not it's not gonna depend on a team spot. It's not gonna depend on certain, whatever. It's gonna say if it's compatible for what we're trying to do within the year, then we might do it. We might give it a shot and try and make it happen, because we do have this, me and my team, we do have the support to do it. But if it doesn't look like it's going to be a feasible race and we don't see it benefiting us in the long-term future, there could be a possibility that we hand it down to Luke Becker or Billy Gennaro or whoever wants to do it next in line. So time will tell, and we will see.
Oh, very good. Yeah, well, that's pretty interesting. And if worst case scenario, you just stay home and you race for that AMA #1 national championship title on your back, and Max Romo will have the big #1 on his back. So that's not a bad option either, is to have #1 Max Romo on the back of your uniform. And I think you can do it. That's a good second option. So life isn't always about going over the pond. It's, it depends, like you say, what's in your best interest. And getting that #1 AMA number is not a bad backup. And stay home. You got your family, you got your friends, you got your support, you got your girlfriend, you have the racing, and you have everything at home. So that's a good place to be also, is to be at home.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. There's a lot of factors. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can get a really great offer. Hopefully a couple teams will really show interest in you, and you'll get a lot of the GP. They said they need riders. They need, they like American riders. So, exactly. If there's no interest, or they don't want to spend money, or they're not, like that, I guess forget it. But if they show a lot of interest, they make a good offer, you know, maybe get a couple offers, then, you know, something you might want to think about also on the other hand. So the cream rises to the top, and you definitely have showed that you're, you know, at the top. So that's good. So thanks so much, Max, you're the winner of the 2020 FIM World Speedway Qualifier event last Saturday night that was held at the Perris Speedway. Max Romo was #1. Remember that, you guys. I called that. I said that if you race Max Romo, you're gonna like better be on your A game because Max is gonna take you down, sucker. And Max went ahead and took everybody down. He scored 15 points out of how many? Out of 15 points. Max rode perfect, and so it was just awesome. And if you go over to America, go over to Europe, you'll definitely represent America well. But if you don't, then you'll be here looking for that #1 on your back of your uniform. And I know you're gonna do that. You're really close, dude. You're so close. You're just like just a little, and you're the next bump over. So you're definitely next in line to get that. And with all the best, the legends in Speedway, like Bruce Flanders and Bruce Penhall, all these really famous like legends, they had interviews and they said like, who do you think is going to be the next champion, the next up and coming special rider that American's going to produce? And all those guys said, who? Max Romo. So you have a lot of guys behind you, Max, and you have a big support, not only with your team, but lots of people in the Speedway world really know that you have like the talent, even from years ago, not just today, but everyone knows that you have that gift. And so that's really, really cool. And we just want to thank you so much for visiting us here at the Beehive today. And anything else you want to add? Anything? No?
No, thank you. So I enjoyed being on it, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
You're awesome, dude, and we really appreciate it. And if anybody wants to sponsor Max or his brother Dylan, he's just right here. You can go ahead. You can email me, and I'll text Max and Dylan. These guys are cool. I like it because these guys have the heart of a champion, and you know, that's why. Who did Bruce Penhall say was going to have success? It was Max Romo, because these guys are champions, right? And champions know the heart of a champion. And so Max definitely has that. And we're so grateful to have Max. This was our first live stream chat. And I'm so happy it worked. And even though we had a little glitch in the show. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone enjoys the show. We had a really great show with you, Max. And we hope to have a lot of successful years ahead. No injuries, Max. Stay healthy. And we're just so grateful to have you as our first guest. Our first guest was Mad Max Romo. So thank you, Max. And
thank you, Brian.
We'll end this live stream today. Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you. You're awesome. I was thinking maybe Max isn't going to come on my show. So thank you. And I hope, you know, I wish you all the best of success. You're just awesome, dude. You're a great rider and you're a good guy. So keep that way. Don't change ever for anybody. And thank you so much. And thanks for joining the live stream broadcast with the champion, Max Romo. So thanks again, Max, and have a great day. This is Max Romo. If you want to sponsor a good rider, we have one right here, Max Romo. So thanks, Max. Have a great one.
Yep.
Thank you, bro.
Brian. Have a good one.
You too. Take care. Max Romo.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Yeah, bye-bye.
That was Max Romo at the Beehive. And we just thank Max for his time, and the guy's a cool dude. He's an awesome rider, and he's a 2020 champion. So thank you so much for joining us today at the live stream. We want to go ahead and invite you back. We're going to do another one real soon. So please like the channel, the Speedway channel. We have lots of Speedway videos. And thank you so much for joining us at our first live stream chat with Mad Max. He was awesome. That guy's cool. So thanks so much. So please like, share, subscribe, and always ring that bell.